Okay, hi everyone. Let's explore this job costing problem. And on this one, we're just going to focus on two of the requirements. They've asked us to make entries to take care of transactions C and D, and that's all I want to focus on, entries C and D. Okay, so here's the background information. They tell us that the company has these balances in its inventory accounts, and work in process are made up of material, labor, and overhead given here in the amounts. And then we have a number of transactions. Well, transaction C says job tickets were collected and summarized. 114, 150 hours at 12. Job 115 had 220 hours at $14 per hour, and job 116 at $80. Now, I've put that information down below because we're going to need that information, and also I've put this information of work in process here so that we could compute the overhead rate. And so if we put this in here, we see that job 114 was applied at the rate of 65%. Now, they tell us that, or actually they don't, but because it's always consistent and they're telling us it's applied overhead, we can calculate that and know what to do. Okay, so in every case, it's always 65%. You see it matches. So we know that in total, it would be 65%. Now, I've added the totals here because I need this information, even though they didn't provide it to you here. All right, so the direct labor hours were 150 for job 114 at 12 bucks an hour, then 220 at 14, and 80 at 18. So we can compute the total direct labor hour per job and then just sum it across. So you see I'm just taking the sum of those amounts, and that total amount is $6,320. Now, that's the information I need to record entry C. Entry D has to do with overhead, and I'll share the entry in a minute here. So we have to apply overhead on the basis of direct labor costs. Now, that's all they tell us. They don't give us 65%. They just tell us it's applied on the basis of direct labor cost. And that's why computing this ratio of labor to overhead, I could calculate what the overhead rate is, which is 65%. So now that I know that, I can just simply take the direct labor for every job, right? And direct labor for each job is going to be the hours times the hourly rate. You know, all of those are just copied right in. So the only real information I need is this one right here. I don't even need these three cells, but right here, what I need to do is multiply 65% times the direct labor cost, and that gives me the amount of overhead applied. So let me show you the solution here. I'll put it right here. Okay, so what you see is transaction C, what they're asking you to do is show how much of the labor was applied to production, and we do that by debiting work in process and then crediting wages payable, though it might be called wages and salaries payable. There might be a wages control account used. There's different ways that this is handled by unique companies. And then entry D would show us how we apply the work in process, how we apply overhead to work in process. And we already computed it would be 65% of the labor amount, so we come up with $4,108. And that we debit to work in process, and we credit overhead. Now, different textbooks may call it overhead control. In the real world, I've always seen this called applied overhead or manufacturing overhead dash applied. Either way, the concept is the same. We're crediting overhead and applying it to production, and that's how job order costing works. Okay? Thanks, everyone.